Bella here. Good afternoon, everyone. So, kumusta na kayo? I hope you guys are doing well. If you are on our Facebook page, you can comment down below what emoji describes your mood for today. So, kung medyo sleepy kayo ngayon, kung naiinitan dahil sa araw, grabe iba na yung araw ngayon, no? Or maybe you are stressed from modules, from deadlines, whatever that may be, kung may emoji yon to describe what you are feeling, please let us know down below in the comments section. Anyway, hi guys, I am Janina Vela and I will be your host for this afternoon. And welcome to Globe's Well-Being Day, where we will learn more how to take care of ourselves. So importante yan, lalo na sa panahon na ngayon. For some reason, even if we have a lot of time to ourselves, for some reason, we find ourselves forgetting ourselves in the process. And so I feel like this is a very good pick-me-up because there were a lot of these talks in the start of the pandemic, but now that we're in the middle, we need a little refresher. Hey, Janina, take care of yourself. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. So for those of you who may not know yet, May is not only the month of Cinco de Mayo, it's not only the month of Star Wars, May the 4th, but it is also Mental Awareness Month. And so one thing that I really hope that everyone could keep in mind is that, drumroll, our mental health is as important as our physical health. And if you follow me sa mga social media sites ko, alam niyo na sobra akong parang advocate sa holistic health. So that's emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual health. All of those are interconnected with one another. And so if one is not doing so well, the other will get pulled down with it. So we have to take care of our holistic health. So this afternoon, an expert will talk about what is mental well-being and how we can effectively cope with stress, especially during this pandemic, because stress is like stress is all around us all the time. And so speaking of online, I'm sure that you will agree with me that since we have to use technology for all aspects of our lives during the pandemic, minsan parang napapasobra na ang paggamit natin ng mga devices in the internet, diba? Kung tinanong kita ngayon, ano ang screen time mo? Sa phone mo, if you can check your screen time on your phone, would you be happy with the answer that you will give us? Well, that's why this afternoon, Google will share with us what digital well-being is and how we can detach from technology when we need to. So again, let me correct myself from a while ago. This is Google's Well-Being Day, and I'm so happy to have you all with us because it is going to be a fun and informative day at Google's Well-Being Day. So don't forget to share your thoughts about today's topic and use the hashtag Let's Talk About Well-Being so we can capture or read your comments later, because we will be having a short Q&A later with our somebody who I will introduce you to in a little bit. But yes, we will have a little bit of a Q&A, so you can comment down below your questions and let us know your thoughts with the hashtag Let's Talk About Well-Being. So before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone tuned in today that the views and opinions expressed by the resource speaker do not necessarily affect or reflect the views of Google on the topic. The content of the resource speaker's presentation is his own and not owned or attributable to Google. As well as this event does not constitute personal medical or psychiatric advice by Google or any of the speaker and should not be taken as such. Please consult your own healthcare professional for any medical advice. All right, so first up, to officially start, we have Google Philippines Country Director, Ms. Bernadette Nacario, to share a message about the importance of today's event. So let us give a warm virtual welcome to Ms. Bernadette Nacario.
Thank you, Janina. Good day, everyone. I hope you are doing well, staying safe and healthy. I'm happy to be with you virtually today. Well-being is so important to Google, internally and externally. Within the company, we created several programs and virtual activities to promote both the physical and mental well-being of our teams. Some of these are the No Meetings Week and Global Day Offs so employees can distress and unplug as needed. As we all know, COVID-19 continues to pose a challenge on mental health and it is critical to detach and take a break. Externally, we are aware that technology has become increasingly integral to people's day to day lives during the pandemic. According to our latest eConomy Southeast Asia report, on average, Southeast Asians spent an additional hour per day on the internet during lockdowns. Meanwhile, Filipinos' usage spiked to 5.2 hours at the height of quarantine last year, and that's actually the highest across the region. People view technology as very helpful during these days. However, spending too much time with our devices and being online can affect our well being. That is why this May, for Mental Health Awareness Month, we are taking the opportunity to organize a helpful session promoting mental and digital well being. This afternoon, we are fortunate to be joined by a respected expert, Ronald Del Castillo, who will talk about how we can protect our mental well being and effectively cope with stress. Thank you, Ronald, for joining us today. Jaya Lopez, one of our well-being champions at Google, will also discuss how Google can help you form healthy digital habits and manage your digital lifestyle. YouTube creators are joining the conversation to share their perspective and some personal well-being tips too. It's going to be an informative and helpful session. We believe that technology should improve life, not distract from it. We're committed to giving everyone the tools needed to find a balance with technology that feels right for all of us. You can check out these tools online at wellbeing.google. Before I end, I'd like to remind all of us, let's be kind to our mind. Always check in on ourselves and our loved ones as well. Thank you so much and continue to stay safe. I hope you learned from today's event. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Miss Bernadette. I love that. Let us be kind to our mind. So you can head over to Twitter, you can head over to other social media sites now and use that hashtag. Comment that down below. All of the quotes that you love to hear during this talk and during our Q&A, just comment them down below with our official hashtag. Let's talk about well-being. Okay, so I'm very, very excited because for our first speaker today, we have a psychologist and a consultant on social and behavior change communication. And he also was an associate professor of mental health, public health, and social policy. So he was trained at Fordham, Palo Alto University, Stanford, Harvard, Tufts, UCLA, King's College London, and the National University of Singapore. He regularly writes commentaries on social media, culture, and health for media outlets. He is also a member of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering and is a fellow of the UK Royal Society for Public Health. Okay. So, to talk about protecting our mental well-being during COVID-19, everyone please give a warm virtual welcome to Sir Ronald Del Castillo. Hello, good
Hi.
afternoon, Doc Ronald.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
How are you? Oh, I'm great. I'm excited to learn from you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Well,
I'm looking forward
yeah.
to it.
We're so happy. We're so happy that you said yes. And I'm sure all of our viewers are excited to learn from you. So without further ado, I'm giving you the floor.
Thank you so much, Jinya, and good afternoon to everybody. Wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening, whenever or wherever you might be listening to this, I hope you and your loved ones are safe. It goes without saying that the last 13, 14 months now here in the Philippines, it's been tough emotionally, psychologically, mentally. And I think one of the recent sort of trending words, if you will, that you might be hearing is languishing. You know, it's just a fancy way, languishing is just a fancy way of saying sort of feeling blah, sort of feeling empty, feeling not yourself, maybe not depressed because you're not feeling hopeless or worthless, maybe not feeling burnt out because you might have a little bit of energy. But languishing is that sense where you're kind of losing meaning and purpose, whether it be at your work and at your, or at school with friends, with loved ones, and so on. So today is a good day to have that kind of discussion next. So, but in these kinds of discussions, I always like to start with the meaning of what mental health is. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, we draw a direct line between mental health and depression, mental health and anxiety disorder, or mental health and the illness, the disorder. And I think that's really unfortunate, and I think really narrow. Mental health is more simple than that. It's the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. And of course, the way we think, feel, and behave, affects the ways in which we deal with the world. We deal with work, we deal with friends, we deal with loved ones. Next, please. So the traditional way of thinking about it is, the traditional way of thinking about mental health is either I have depression or I don't. Either I have anxiety or I don't, right? Either I have an illness or I don't. And for me, my invitation to you is to get out of that black and white thinking, to get out of that all or nothing thinking. Many of us will never be depressed, common as it is. Depression is common. Many of us will never have an anxiety disorder, but it doesn't mean I am well, right? I don't have depression, but it doesn't mean I am well. I don't have an anxiety disorder, but it doesn't mean I am well. When you think about physical health, the idea still applies. Just because I don't have cancer, it doesn't mean I'm doing okay. Just because I don't have hypertension, tuberculosis, or whatever physical illness, it doesn't mean I am well. My invitation to you is to expand your understanding of what mental health is, to include well-being. And when you do that, you expand many possibilities, sort of many opportunities to do something about mental health, to promote it, to protect it, whether it be policies and programs and advocacy that you might have at work, at school, or wherever it might be. Next, please. So when you expand that definition to include well-being, you can do many things, right? I don't want to confuse you with this graph. The red part, I think you understand very well, right? The red part is either I don't have depression, or very little depression, or I have a lot of depression, or I have very little anxiety, or I have a lot of anxiety. So I think the red part you understand, because that's often how we understand mental health, unfortunately, here in the Philippines. My invitation to you is to include the green part. And the green part is our well-being. The green part is my level of contentment, my level of flourishing, if you will. Flourishing is the opposite of languishing. And so my level of happiness and other aspects of my life. So letter A, the top right of your screen, this is optimal mental well-being. This is where we all want to be, right? And who is this person? Letter A is, I don't have depression and I'm flourishing, right? I don't have an illness, and all in all, I'm doing all right. I'm going to work, I'm going to school, I have good friends. I'm doing pretty good. This is where most of us wish to be. But in the last 13, 14 months especially, we are the girl with the purple hair. We are the girl with the purple hair in the lower right of your screen. And who is this girl? This is languishing. When we talk about languishing, who is this girl? This girl is, I don't have depression, but I'm lonely. I don't have an anxiety disorder, but I don't know if this is the right career for me. I don't have an eating disorder. I don't have post-traumatic. I don't have an illness. I don't have a disorder. I don't have the red part, but my green is low. I don't know if this is the right career for me. I don't have any friends. I don't know how to make friends, right? This is where most of us are, especially in the last 13, 14 months. And I think multiple points in our lives, we are the girl with the purple hair. Letter C, the guy in the lower left of your screen, is the traditional way of thinking about mental health. And you know who this guy is, right? I have an illness, I have a disorder, and my well-being is low. I'm not going to work, I'm not going to school. So I will not belabor that point. But to me, the true test of whether or not you really understand or sort of expanded our understanding of what mental well-being is about is the girl with the yellow hair and the upper left of your screen with the yellow hair. And who is this girl? This girl is, I have depression, but I'm going to work. I have an anxiety disorder, but I'm going to school. Every now and then I'm going to have a panic attack, but you know what? I have good friends. I have a supportive family. So the traditional thinking, the previous slide I shared with you, the traditional thinking is one or the other. Meaning, I have depression. Oh, you need to take a leave of absence and come back with a medical clearance, right? The traditional thinking is, oh, you have an anxiety disorder. You need to take a semester off from work and come back when you're well. No. A true test of whether or not we've expanded our understanding of what mental well-being is about is, you have depression? Okay. What can we do to make sure that you still come to work, that you can still contribute to our team project, that you still show up? Oh, you have an anxiety disorder? Oh, you every now and then you're going to have a panic attack? Okay. What can we do to still support you, to make sure that you still do your homework, that you still come to work and school, right? It's not one or the other. It is possible to have both. Next, please. So when you do that, when you expand your understanding, then you have a better understanding that our mental well-being is, of course, affected by so many things, right? Another unfortunate misconception I think that I have witnessed here in the Philippines is where we see mental illness or mental disorder or psychological or emotional struggles as a weakness, right? It's something you're doing or not doing, which is why you're feeling or thinking the way that you are. And nothing can be further from the truth. When you expand our understanding of what mental well-being is about, then we understand that there are so many things that affect our mental health, right? So the baby and the brain and the lower left of your screen, those are individual factors, right? You and I, we might have some genetic or biological risk factors, right? You understand that. So we might have some personal experiences growing up that affect the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave. But I think a neglected stuff that we often don't really think about are the other things in front of your screen. And that is on the upper left of your screen, of course, our social world affects our mental health. Your family affects your friends, your neighbor, your community affects your mental health and well-being. You think back to your childhood, for example. When you came home, imagine that you came home with, I don't know, like an 80, 85% on your exam, and you came home, you're very excited about that. Think about that time when you came home and excited, and how did your family, especially your parents, how did they react? Did they celebrate with you? Right? Oh my gosh, you got an 80, you got an 85, that's awesome. Or did you get a reaction where, you stayed up all night. You stayed up all night. You only got an 80, 85? I don't think you studied hard enough, right? So obviously our family world affects our mental health and well-being. The stuff on the upper right, what we call structural factors in public health, is stuff that we also ignore, like insurance, work, being at work is a good thing, right? Having work is a good thing. Being in school is a good thing. Health insurance is a good thing. Just give you a quick example. Let's say you want to see a therapist, right? Let's say you are ready and willing to see a therapist, and even your family and your friends, your social world supports your decision to do that. And that's great, right? But this is where the stuff on the upper right comes in that we often ignore. Health insurance. How are you going to pay for your therapist? Where are you going to go? Right? Does your insurance, public or private, cover outpatient psychotherapy? And in the last 13, 14 months, many of our hardworking mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, psychometricians, and so on, have switched to mobile health, right? They've been using their phones, text messages, and so on to do therapy. Does your insurance cover online psychotherapy? Most insurance don't, right? So if you're lucky, maybe you'll see your therapist only one time. That's not enough for many of us who really want to talk out our stuff. So that also affects our mental health and well-being. The earth, the globe at the bottom right, is our social-cultural world, as you know very well. Think about what is the Filipino attitude towards, Filipino culture. What is the Filipino cultural attitude towards mental health? And this is where issues of stereotype and discrimination really come in. So taken together, you can see that there's so much work and opportunity and challenges for us to hang on to and advocate for when we expand our understanding of what mental health and well-being Next, please. So one of the things, okay, so I've just told you that there are many ways that affect our mental health and well-being. One of those things is the way we think about a situation, right? So again, there are many factors that affect our mental health and well-being: social world, structural stuff, culture stuff, individual stuff. At the individual level, one of those things is the way we think about a situation. So it begs the question, can the way we think about a situation change the way we experience that situation? So I use the word stress here. It's just really an umbrella term, right? Stress is physical, right? Tension in the body, emotional, psychological. But I'm using the word stress here as an umbrella term for when things are kind of off, right? So you might not call it stress. Maybe it's a loneliness, an emptiness, a sadness, a worry, right? I'm just using that term. So I repeat, can the way we think about a stressful situation, change the way we experience it? So now, next please. What they did several years ago was this wonderful research study where they asked 30,000 adults a very simple question: how much stress have you experienced in the last year? Now, I am sure many of you watching right now, listening right now, have answered this question at one point or another, right? It's probably one of the questions you take, or surveys that you take when you're at work, right? How much stress have you experienced in the last year? Next, please. But in that research, they also ask a different question. Do you believe that stress was bad for you? Right? Do you believe that stress was bad for you? And what they did was, again, they followed 30,000 adults 8 years later, and they checked public death records, right? And this is the best kind of research, right? A lot of people, 30,000 adults, a long time, 8 years, and very simple survey questions. How much stress have you experienced in the last year? And do you believe that was bad for you? And so they checked public death records 8 years later. Who died 8 years later? And they found remarkable stuff. Next, please. What they found was that people who reported high levels of stress had a 43% likelihood of dying, right? Which is a lot, right? Which is a lot. But that was more likely if they also believed it was bad for them, right? Yes, I experienced a lot of stress in the last year, and I thought it was bad for me. Next, please. Because the interesting thing that they found was, among other people who believe it was bad, who reported high levels of stress, but did not believe it was bad, they were no more likely to die. So in other words, yes, I experienced a lot of stress, but I don't think it was that bad. They were no more likely to die, right? Now, as you know, our stress, it translates to our bodies physically as tension, and it could be psychological or emotional. Next, please. So when you change the way you think about stress, you can change your body's response to it, right? So if we change the way we think about the situation, can we change the way our body responds to it? This is, for many of you, I don't have to tell you that stress is very much related to our physical well-being. This is why stress and cardiovascular disease are linked, right? If the more you are chronically stressed, the more you're likely to have hypertension and other kinds of cardiovascular problems. So if you think about it differently, can you change the way your body responds to it? And as it turns out, we can. Next, please. When we teach you to think differently, and therefore teach your body to respond differently to whatever that stressful situation is, it turns out you're less stressed out, you're less anxious, and you become more confident. Next, please. I'm beating a dead horse here. In other words, stress is important, but how you think about it matters a great deal, right? How you think about it matters a great deal. Stress is everywhere. We should do more to reduce the sources of our stress, whether it be at work, school, wherever, right? But remember, how you experience that stress is in due part because of how you think about it. Next, please. So, how do we think about stress in a different way, right? So when we experience stress, and again, remember, I'm using stress as an umbrella term for all different kinds of difficult feelings and thoughts, right? Loneliness, anxiety, whatever it is, right? If we think of it differently, right? how can we think of it differently? And there are several ways to think of it differently. Next, please. So there are many, many ways. And I was thinking about how to help you wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening to this. I wanted to do stuff that it's very practical and very useful, right? And one of those things is to write down 3 new things that you are grateful for. Our mind, in evolutionary psychology, our mind is hardwired to focus on the negative, right? It's a survival technique. Unfortunately, when we focus on the negativity a lot of the time, we forget that there are good things for which we can be grateful for. So I encourage you to write down 3 new things that you are grateful for. Now, before we go on, I want to make sure here that when I say new things that you're grateful for, I'm talking about concrete things. What concrete things? Now, most of us will say something like, oh, I'm grateful for my family, I'm grateful for my job, I'm grateful for my health. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something more specific, right? Something more specific. I am grateful of this email because she said, I'm grateful that he said that, I'm grateful that I got something concrete and specific. Next, please. And one of those things could be a positive experience you've had in the last 24 hours. A positive experience you've had in the last 24 hours. Again, our mind is so focused on the negative that we forget good things happen. I'm aware of the time. It's about 3:30. Think about it. It's 3:30 right now, and in the Philippines here right now in the afternoon. I can bet you something good happened today. Something really good happened today. But you forgot about it because your mind went elsewhere. Writing it down allows your brain to relive that moment. So write a positive experience you've had in the last 24 hours. Next, please. So once you get used to this sort of writing journey, you can get into journal writing. Journal writing, unfortunately, sometimes has a bad rap. It has a sort of an adolescent quality, like only teenage girls do diaries or whatever. Not at all. Not at all. As generously introduced earlier, I write commentaries and op-eds for newspapers. All those articles I've written by hand at first. The only time I type them is when I need to submit them. Writing things down physically by hand slows down your brain. A sign of anxiety and stress is rumination. Ruminating is when we're sort of our brain is going, right? It's just sort of our thoughts, especially negative thoughts, are on a treadmill, right? They're just in a rat race, right? Writing things down physically by hand, writing it down slows down your brain because your handwriting cannot physically keep up with how fast your brain is going. So it actually forces your brain to slow down. Next, please. So some writing. Now, if you have the luxury, now I fully acknowledge that some of us don't have this luxury, but if you do, you could do this thing called a 25 on, 5 off, where you work concentratedly for 25 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. Again, I fully acknowledge that this can be a privileged thing. I know some of us might not have the luxury to do this, but if you can, I highly encourage it. What you do is you work concentratedly for 25 minutes and you take a break for 5 minutes. 25 on, 5 off, 25 on, 5 off. And you do this throughout the day. I try to practice this throughout the day. The reason why it's around 25 minutes, is because our brain starts to slow down around 30 minutes, right? Our concentration starts to go down. So to sort of recharge, I need to get away from my work for just a few minutes before I return to it. So 25 on, 5 off, 5 off. Next, please. So please try to do that. Now, one of the things that might be difficult that many of us might be struggling with is trying to stay in bed. So what do you do when you wake up in the middle of the night? Now, I don't know about you, but early in the pandemic, there were nights where I would go to bed okay, but then I would wake up at like 2:30, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't go back to sleep. I'm struggling to go back to sleep. Anxiety filters through our sleep. Difficulty sleeping is a sign that your brain is telling you that you need to take care of something, that you should have been taking care of something when you were awake. But not so now I'm going to try to keep you awake because you did not deal with it during the day when you were awake. So what do? While so if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep, you get back to bed, you go back to your routine when you're in bed. What does that mean? What I mean is, if you're the kind of person, for example, for me, I read just before I sleep because it helps me to fall asleep. So I'm reading in bed at the beginning of the night. I do the exact same thing if I wake up in the middle of the night. So if I wake up at 3 o'clock, if I have a hard time falling asleep, I read again. Or if you're the kind of person who listens to music, listen to music. But whatever you do, try to still be in bed. Do not look at the clock. You don't need to know what time it is. I know many of us sleep next to our phones. It's very tempting to know what time it is. You don't need to know what time it is. Your body knows that it's the middle of the night and you should be sleeping. If you find out what time it is, your brain is going, oh my gosh, it's 2:30. I should be sleeping. It's 3 o'clock. I should be sleeping. If it's not working, get out of bed entirely. Right? Because the more you stay in bed, the longer you stay in bed, the more anxious actually you're going to become. You're going to ruminate. So do the relaxation stuff, whether it be reading, listening to music, whatever you do. Maybe you do deep breathing, for example. Do that in another room, right? So your bathroom, your kitchen, your living room, or what have you. If it still doesn't work, you should give up. There's nothing wrong with giving up. It's okay to give up. If that means starting your day at 4:30 in the morning, then start your day at 4:30. And I've done that. It's okay. The trick is to not take a nap during the day so that the following night, you're going to be so tired that you're more likely to sleep through the night. Next, please. So that's some tips on how to sleep through the night. Now, some of us might have some really high stress levels, high anxiety. You could do some deep breathing. I'm going to talk about that in a second, so I'll skip that. There's a fancy thing called grounding. It's just a fancy way of saying going through your senses wherever you are. For some of us who are very anxious, it's almost like an out-of-body experience, right? So like it's hard to, like you're so panicky that it's hard to keep still and to keep grounded. That's what grounding does. Name 5 things you see. Name 4 things you can touch. And if it's safe, actually touch it and describe it. I see my chair. I feel my chair. It's made of wood. It's made of metal. It's cold, right? Name 3 things you can hear. Name 2 things you can smell. And name 1 thing you can taste. Grounding, going through your senses. Next, please. Other techniques is self-talk. You talk to yourself. I talk to myself. It sounds silly, but it's not. It's helpful. I talk to myself. When I wake up in the morning, I tell myself, today's going to be a good day. Today's going to be a good day. Self-talk is a self-soothing technique we can tell ourselves whenever we're feeling down or feeling anxious. I will be fine. This will pass. I will be okay. I've gone through this before. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling off. I'll be fine, right? Talk to yourself. HALT, H-A-L-T, HALT means stop. HALT is a technique where you stop to reflect and ask whether your feelings are accurate to what you're actually experiencing. In other words, a lot of our feelings that come up, whether it be anxiety, loneliness, whatever it is, whatever the feeling is, a lot of those feelings are actually not accurate. Emotional intelligence, or part of emotional intelligence, is questioning whether the feelings that come up are actually the feelings that are going on inside. In other words, am I anxious? No, I'm actually just hungry. Am I lonely? No, I'm angry. Am I sad? No, I'm lonely. Right? Am I irritable? No, I'm tired. HALT means stop, think about, reflect on my feelings, and am I actually feeling my feelings? And a lot of the times, they are actually not accurate. Progressive muscle relaxation is another fancy way of something very easy and that you can do anywhere. What it is you tense your muscle and hold it for a few seconds, right? So the body is made of many muscles, so hold it for a few seconds and quickly release. So you can do your eyebrows. You can do your elbows. Your elbows here, right? So and your shoulders, for example, your elbows. You could do all your body. Hold it for a few seconds and quickly release. Right. Next, please. Another thing you could do is roll away. So I said earlier that our body, our tension tends to go to our body, right? Physical tension. Rolling it away here loosens, especially your torso, your upper body, and makes it easier to do deep breathing or to take breaths in general. I'm not going to stress. I'm not going to demonstrate roll away to you. I think the images here are pretty self-explanatory. So try to get a tennis ball or tennis size ball and roll your body, especially your upper body, your torso. Next, please. Deep breathing, I mentioned earlier. Very easy. It's called the 478. I'm sure you've heard of it before. The picture here, he's lying down and his eyes are closed. You don't have to do that. It's just the image. And what it is you breathe through your nose for 4 seconds. Take a deep breath through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold it for 7 seconds and exhale slowly if you can for 8 seconds. And you do that 2 or 3 times. So that's called 4, 7, 8. In through the nose for 4, hold for 7, and exhale through the mouth for 8 seconds. And 4, 7, 8. Next, please. So that's pretty easy. You can do that anywhere. I do that all the time, anywhere I am. Right. So 4, 7, 8. Controlled breathing. You need to sit. You need to be in a safe space for this. So in a chair, in your living room, in your couch, in your bed. What it is, you put your stomach on your. You put your hands on your stomach. You inhale deeply. I can't really demonstrate here because of the angle. But essentially, you sort of curl forward. Right. You inhale forward using your palms. Right? So as if pushing in, and then open yourself up as you exhale, right? So you inhale forward, right? And you open yourself up through exhale. You do that 10 to 20 times. Another is, next please, is called the energizing ha. For those of you who do yoga or stuff like that, this might be familiar to you. This is typically done standing up, as the image shows. So you sort of put your palms up and you imagine sort of pulling something, a rope or a rubber band or something like that. Palms up. You inhale deeply as if pulling back, and then, right? You inhale deeply and, right? Again, it looks silly, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about your mental well-being here, so it doesn't matter to look silly, right? It totally works. Energizing ha. Next, please. Some of us have negative thoughts. Not some of us, actually, all of us have negative thoughts. Now, what do we do with them? So there are many kinds of negative thoughts that enter our minds. There's nothing wrong with having negative thoughts. The issue, the source of our stress, is not the negative thoughts. The issue is what we do about them. For many of us, we become stressed because we hold on to those thoughts instead of letting them go. So holding on to the thoughts, which is what's happening on the left side of your screen, is you're holding on to them, you're ruminating, you're judging your thought, right? Learn to let it go. So how do you let go? So there are a couple of things that I do that I find helpful, which is what's happening on the right side of your screen. Imagine the thought, whatever the thought is. Again, there's nothing wrong with your thoughts. What do you do with them once you have them, right? Imagine the thought on a leaf, and imagine that leaf floating in a cloud. Right? Imagine that cloud being blown away by the wind, right? So whatever that thought is, right? I'm inadequate. I'm lonely. I don't know how to make friends. Okay, I have that thought. Then see that statement, I don't know how to make friends, on a leaf, and imagine that floating in a cloud or down a river. All right? It's about letting go those negative thoughts. Next, please. Another is, what do we do when we get into a situation where somebody might be irritable or angry? When someone is irritable or angry, the natural reaction, which is also a source of our stress, right? The natural reaction is 2 things. Either we defend ourselves by saying something back, or we avoid the situation, which actually doesn't change anything. My invitation to you is to be more reflective and internally ask why, right? Why is this person angry? Why is this person irritated? Why are they feeling differently than I am, right? So if somebody is angry, our natural reaction is to be angry back because we want to defend ourselves. My invitation to you is, why am I feeling differently? When you do that, when you ask the why questions, you open yourself up to empathy and entertain the possibility that, he's angry because of something else, and I just happen to be in his way. Right? Or she's irritable because of something that has nothing to do with me. but I just happen to be in the way. And because we're in a meeting, right? You open up yourself to empathy. Next, please. So when you do these kinds of things, then you can learn to develop a disarming technique. A disarming technique is something very easy. So again, when there's a disagreement or somebody says a negative comment, one of the things we do is to defend ourselves or to avoid the situation entirely. A disarming technique is actually where you agree to the situation, right? So when somebody says, "Oh, you're so lazy," or something to that effect, the natural thing is, "No, I'm not. I work very hard." Or you don't say anything at all. No. My invitation to you is to actually agree. You know what? You're right. Sometimes I don't do the work. I will try harder. You know what? You're right. Sometimes I am late. Yeah, I should do more. I should try harder to show up on time, right? Agreeing to the situation disarms the tension, releases the tension in the interaction such that it actually diffuses the situation and you can move forward. Next, please. So that's a disarming technique. Now, I gave you so much material here. I gave you so much material here that I know that sometimes it can be overwhelming, and that totally makes sense. But you know what? You don't have to do everything I shared here. Don't. Just pick one thing, and go with it. Do little things before you move on to the next one. You break it down. A perfect example is the 4-7-8 I just shared with you, right? 4-7-8, break it down. I already did. There are 4, 7, and 8. And then you learn each part. So maybe starting next Monday, you're going to learn to inhale for 4 seconds, right? Then the week after that, you're going to learn to hold it for 7 seconds. And the week after that, by the time you get to June, mid-June, you are exhaling for 8 seconds. And then by mid to late June, you're actually doing the whole thing. Do things bit by bit. It takes 21 days of solid practice. It takes 21 days of solid practice for a behavior to become a habit. So just take one thing at a time. Learn each part before you move on. Next, please. And so the last thing that I want to share with you is really just more of a reflection, but I do think it's an appropriate one. Unfortunately, especially my fellow millennials and Gen Z in the room, we live in a culture, we live in a world where our self-worth, our value as people is directly connected to our productivity. That I am only of worth, I'm only of value as long as I am performing, as long as I am delivering, as long as I am doing this project and that project and meeting my deadlines, blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's really unfortunate. And I wrote about this last year. Next, please. So forgive me for quoting myself. Self-care, for instance, is no longer about deepening our connections to ourselves and to those who matter to us. It is no longer about re-engaging with playfulness or self-care is now, oh, what do I do so I can be more energized, more motivated, and more productive when I go back to school, work, or other responsibilities? Self-care is enshrined as an instrument of productivity. In other words, we live in a world where we should take care of ourselves so we can be productive. You are watching this so you can be more productive. No, my invitation to you is to disconnect the two. You should be taking care of yourself because you are of value as you are, regardless of your performance, productivity level. You are worthy as you are. You should be taking care of yourself because you should be taking care of yourself. You are valued as a person, regardless of your productivity. I will end it there. Next slide, please. I believe that was my last slide. So thank you again for listening wherever you are. Wherever you are, I hope you and your loved ones are safe. Thank you again. Back to you.
My mind was definitely blown. You were right. You gave a lot of material to us. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your generosity in learnings. I love that you mentioned, like briefly mentioned, it wasn't even one of your main points, but you said it's okay to look silly if you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think that's something that our viewers can focus on, because these are a lot of practical tips that
yeah,
are not second nature. These are
yeah,
new things that we have to incorporate into our
yeah.
lives. There, you have to be intentional to
Mm,
do these things, and you might look weird, it might feel weird
yeah,
for a bit, but I think that
absolutely.
these are very, very important. So thank you for that talk. We will get
Thank
into
you.
some questions. I saw a lot of questions a while ago from our comment section, and we would love to answer them right now. Okay. So our first question is going to be shown very very soon. But it's well, while we're waiting for that, it's funny that you mentioned 478 because I typically use that to go to sleep, and I thought that was
Oh, okay, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
Like when I have a hard time sleeping, I'm like, okay, 4 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, and I'm like, so to anybody who's watching, it works because I
Yeah,
fall
see?
asleep after.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
fall asleep after. Um,
yeah,
but I think part one of the things that you mentioned was about your space, right? And it's
yeah,
about finding different spaces or even going outside if you
yeah,
can. What if our viewer there's a viewer out there who does not have access to more
yeah, yeah,
space, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or
Yeah.
outside space. What is something that they can do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, it's probably a different webinar entirely, but I think unfortunately, self care or taking care of ourselves, unfortunately, it has become sometimes this sort of almost like a privileged thing that only some people
Mm.
can do. And I think that's really unfortunate. So I think that question is an important one. It's a meaningful one. You're right. Some people can't easily just sort of go outside and enjoy a walk, or example. Some of us, especially if you live in urban areas, like you can't see a tree for a long time, right? Because there are no trees around or shade. So, oh gosh, a couple of things. You can bring the greenery inside with you. So, as you can see, I have a green thing right like behind me.
I think
So it's
I have
okay.
plants here as well.
Good, good. So yeah, so bringing. I know that again. That kind of it. I know it has sort of a how shall I say, a kind of a silliness or even sort of a trending thing that might lose its value because it's trending, right? But no, I think bringing in plants, bringing in nature, I think is a wonderful thing to appreciate. Another thing is there's nothing wrong with looking at nature in our devices. I think when used appropriately, like I think there's a channel on TV where it's an aquarium. And so your entire TV. So if you have a big TV, for instance, you can watch an aquarium
Oh
on your
wow,
TV.
okay.
A lot of channels online have have birds, right? And it's like a stream or a video of nature that you can watch and appreciate. I think those are useful in those kinds of situations. But lastly, if I may just add, I hope that the stuff I provided here is useful wherever you are. Wherever,
Yeah.
whether you're inside or outside, whether you're in the office, back in the office or not. I hope that they are useful you and practical. Yeah.
Yeah, they are actually very like basically how having a journal, incorporating that into your daily thing,
Mm,
and even
mm, mm,
the three new things, the tangible and
yeah.
specific things you're
Yeah.
thankful for, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're right now we're on the kind of the journey of talking about being at home, when you're not looking at nature videos, you're watching news or
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
social media of
Yeah.
negativity. And there's this new phenomenon called doom scrolling now,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where people are just basically scrolling through doom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
we want to stay updated and it's good to be informed,
Yeah.
but how do you not get so bogged down by
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
negativity all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's another what do I call this? Another common experience we've had, especially in the last 13 and 14 months. And for me, it still comes down to practice and behavior. For example, I'll give you an example of what I do that I find helpful. You're right. Trying to keep up with the news and that kind of thing is useful and helpful, and we should, especially if there are changes in quarantine rules and stuff like that. But I don't sit there for a long time. I sit there for just a few minutes, one time in the morning, usually when I'm eating breakfast, and again later in the afternoon to check in for new information. But I'm not scrolling and sitting there and sort of wondering, because in other words, a lot of the news, in my personal view, a lot of the news, especially when we are scrolling, repeats itself. Like it's the same stuff. So I'm not really seeing anything new, right? If anything, it's just reinforcing the sense of doom and anxiety that we often encounter when it comes to the news. Another tip is that I certainly turn off, and this is just me. I turn off my notifications. For
Mm.
me, we check our phone so frequently that to me the notification is inconsequential. Why get notified when you check it so often that it's almost like it's not useful to be notified? But over time, you learn to not be notified, and it's okay, right?
Yeah.
So I only check my email, for instance, periodically throughout the day instead of like having it on all the time. Yeah. So those are a couple of things I think we can do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting because it's like, you know, your notifications in a sense kind of control you and your day because once they pop up, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to tend to it
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you turn them off, then it's your say, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's on your terms how you
Yeah.
get to use your social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so there's this question that I want to bring up. It's Ia actually Generoso. It says, hi, I think this is from YouTube. Hi, Doc Ronald. Because of the ongoing situation, I feel so anxious or having a panic attack whenever I go out for important errands. What can I do to
Yeah.
overcome the irrational fears or
Yeah.
rational fears?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh gosh, we could spend a whole afternoon on that. There's a lot, and what you're feeling, what you're describing here is very common. I think you are not alone in that. I think it happens to many people, especially when they are outside, and because there's a sense of vulnerability, or a feeling of less safe, right? Because less safe than if we were back in our home. So I think what you're feeling, what you're describing, is very common. Oh gosh, a couple of things we can do. Well, one, I hope that the tips I've shared with you, they still apply to the situation here that's described: the breathing, the 4-7-8, the taking things bit by bit, the progressive muscle relaxation, the grounding technique is very helpful in sort of this panicky state. The self talk is also very helpful in panicky states. Another is. What I find helpful is to actually, and I'm sure you do this, but I will just emphasize this to many people, is to make your whatever the errand is more predictable. In other words, sort of plan it out so that you are not caught off guard, if you will, by unexpected situations. So if you know exactly where you'll go, what you'll do, it creates more of a structure that you're less vulnerable to the sort of sudden thoughts that might come in, including irrational fears. Another is if you're comfortable, it's okay to let other people know. I don't know if you have someone with you when you go to these kinds of errands, but to let other people know where you're going, or what you'll be doing, so that they're aware that you're out there and that you're safe, and that maybe they'll get a call in case you feel a little bit more panicked than usual, and want them to come to you just to make sure that you're safe. It's okay to let people people know that. But again, I think a lot of the stuff I shared here are still applicable to those, especially irrational fears. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you included community as well,
Mhm.
because it's really hard. Like, no man is an island, right? But then it's really
Mhm.
hard to let people in, but it's
Yeah.
also really hard to do it alone.
Yeah.
And so I think a good balance of finding the right people to trust
Mhm.
with this side of you, or with this vulnerable version of you, I think is so important. There's another question, because you did mention about how stress really directly affects our physical body. No,
Yeah.
sorry, is it okay? I'll read this question. It's from Pau Ina. It says, at what point does stress become good or useful to a person?
Yeah.
Or even more so, when does it get too bad?
Yeah.
Because,
That. Yeah.
stress seems always too
Yeah.
bad, but as you
Yeah.
mentioned, it can be good, maybe. So
Yeah.
where do we draw the line?
Yes, exactly. I think that's an excellent question, because I think there is a part in all of us where we want to know, when is it good or when is it bad. So I want
Yeah.
to answer that question in a couple of ways. One, to let you know that it's okay to ask for help regardless of the level of tension, right? If we can measure stress from 0 to 10, 10 being the most stressed out you've ever felt, I want to let you know that there's no number like, oh, once I get to 6 or 7, that's the time to ask for help, or to let someone know. No, I want to let you know it's okay to ask for help, to let other people know that you're going through something or whatever, regardless of where you are in that scale from 0 to 10, right? It's okay to ask for help. That's number one. Number two, if you really sort of want to get that hard line, if you will, it's usually when it affects our daily functioning, especially our interpersonal relationships. So, in other words, you're so stressed out that you're not getting out of bed, you're not eating, you're not showering. It's affecting your relationships with family, with loved ones, with friends. That's when we need to sort of really worry about maybe we need a little extra support and extra help to ease that kind of stress. Yeah.
Hmm. Wow, thanks for that. Okay, we have another question here. Next question, please. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, there you go. Hi, Doc. I currently work from home. Kapag pwede na kami bumalik sa office, what
Yeah.
can we do to adjust easily? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I think a couple of things. One, I hope you, gosh, I hope you have you've spoken to your management or supervisor or your bosses beforehand, right? You've had an open conversation about clarifying expectations. Like, for example, are you returning to the office every day right away, right? Are you returning to the office and is it still socially distanced or physically distanced in your office, right? So I hope you've had ongoing conversations with your team, with your management, so that you can clarify those expectations. A lot of those expectations ease our tension, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back to an office and suddenly find out like, oh, we're all back together, and physically speaking, we're all nothing has changed in the makeup of the room, and therefore we might more likely expose, right? So having those kind of conversations, I think, is very important. Another is to lower our expectations. I don't think getting back in the office right away and to feel like, oh, we're going to be productive and have that meeting and all that kind of stuff. I think no, and this applies to I think one of the last slides I said, meaning ease into it, right? Again, it depends on your workplace. Maybe you start once or twice a week going back to work, maybe even half a day only. Maybe you'll do that for a few weeks. And then a week after that, maybe 3 or 4 days of the week, right? You build up to it, right? You're
Mhm.
adjusting to it, and I hope that you work in a place where that is welcome. And number three, excuse me. I think another way is to let other people know. Again, this depends a lot on other people in our community at work. Let other people know if you are ready and comfortable to go back. That maybe you're not, and it's okay that you're not. That maybe you need a little bit more time. So communicating that need is important so that your management and team can accommodate those needs in a respectful way. Yeah.
Yes, that's a perfect way to wrap it up. I like what you said when you said ease into it, build up to it. And I feel like that principle can be applied to everything that Doc Ronald talked about today, especially in terms of the practical tips, where we don't really need to overwhelm ourselves like, oh my gosh, I need to take care of my mental well being right now, tomorrow, so that everything will be perfect. But it's more of one step at a time. Like he said, do the breathe in for four first, and then add in the seven, and then the eight, until you get to complete the entire task. So that also works for thankfulness, one at a time, maybe until you build up to three. But thank you so much, Doc
Thank you.
Ronald,
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank
us
you so
today.
much.
We learned so much from you. We felt your heart for everybody who's watching, and really your love for people, and your also love for their well-being. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Stay safe. Okay, wow. Whew, that was a lot of learnings. I hope you guys are still alive. No, I hope you guys are still here. We're gonna give you like 5 seconds to process. Okay, you're done processing because I'm excited for the next part in our program, because I will not be alone. Well, I wasn't alone. You are not alone, but we will be joined by my creator friends who will talk about digital and mental well-being. So please welcome Coach Laika and Madame Ellie. Hello, Coach Laika and Madame Ellie.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Janina. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Madame Ellie?
Doing great. I'm still anxious, just like everyone else.
Oh, I love you say that with a smile. I love that attitude. And then we have Coach Laika.
Hi, Janina. Hi,
Hi.
everyone.
Hi. How are you, Coach Laika?
Well, ano ba? Surviving. Hindi
Surviving.
naman. hindi na thriving eh. After a year of this, we have to, I guess, readjust ulit yung priorities
Mm,
natin. And I'm happy that
yeah.
we get to talk about how real things are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, we have to be realistic here. I mean, I don't think anybody is really like, yeah, I'm having the best time of my life right now. But that doesn't mean life can't still be a little bit of good.
Mhm.
But we're going to answer some of these questions and we're going to answer them one by one. Are you guys ready for this? Yes, we're gonna get up
Yeah,
close
let's
and
go.
personal. I'm just kidding. But the first question that I want to ask, especially with kasi dalawa kayong content creators, no? And this revolves around your life. I always say that kind of when you're a content creator, parang ikaw yung produkto. So that's a really hard, truth to kind of understand. But with that said, how do you manage your well-being while still balancing content creation and the other aspects of your life, like work, business, or school, or personal life? How do you balance all of that? Sorry, Coach Laika, you can go first.
All right. I guess one of the things we need to talk about is that balance means that you have to be constantly moving, readjusting. Kasi may idea tayo sometimes na ang balance is a static photo, na parang okay, everything is okay. Pero hindi, and we're talking about juggling, when talking about walking sa tightrope. It's all about, shifting your weight here and there. And that is what balance is, I think, for me right now. Ibig sabihin, today, I get to be a content creator. Tomorrow, I'm a teacher. The other day, I'm just Haley's mommy. That's my puppy, by the way. And I have hard rules when it comes to rest time. So, medyo nag-iba na yung panahon ngayon. Dati, di ba, we rest kapag may available time. Pero sa akin,
Mhm.
ang isa sa pinaka ma-advise ko sa inyo is to schedule your time for rest first. Make that day sacred. So one day out of every week, you're not allowed to work. And then that way, you can just build your schedule around that. Ganun na lang.
Yeah. I like you mentioned all of your different hats, but you also mentioned that you don't wear them at the same time, which I
Mhm.
think is an important principle to carry because, as a student and as a content creator and whatever else I am in a day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do school and then I have to do this. I mean, literally before this talk, I was in a synchronous session of my class and I was really, really stressed about it. But I love that you mentioned, okay, today I'm going to focus on being a content creator. Tomorrow I'm going to focus on being a mother. And so and along with that, I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on rest and giving a designated day for that. I love that. Madame Ellie, is there anything you would like to share?
Yeah, I guess for the situation that we are all in now, as Coach mentioned, with the tightrope and the weight, obviously, I think I'm too heavy for that rope because I have a different kind of mind set up. So for people like me, I guess I started accepting the fact that I have anxiety, and I address that with a smile. That's why I can talk about it
Wow.
smiling, because that's something that I have accepted, and that is something that was triggered because we also experienced getting the disease last year, as you all
Mm.
know. And aside from that, of course, having said that I am already experiencing anxiety, I decided to just keep my mind busy with a lot of things. I learned a new language. Until now, I'm learning that language. I took formal classes. I did
Wow. What
pay, yeah,
language?
Mandarin.
Pwede pa sample?
I what do you want me to say? I'm not fluent yet.
No, kahit
But
ano po. Kahit ano.
okay, year sans whoa. I
One, two,
just
three,
counted
four,
one
five.
to five. Yeah, you got it. See, you're
I love
good.
that.
And yeah, I did some painting as well.
Mm.
Um, all the things that I can think of, something that will keep my mind busy. I also started doing puzzles. So you just have to take yourself away from all these stresses, because if
Mm.
your mind is not busy, you'll focus on what makes you anxious, on your
Yeah.
triggers.
Yeah.
And if you get triggered, then magsusunod-sunod na yon. You just can't stop it, and it's difficult to stop it. That's why I think you really have to accept the fact that you're undergoing something, that you have anxiety or that you have depression, and then that's the only time that you can actually do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. It's awareness, right? I think it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow that you're going through these things,
Yeah.
but it's a necessary pill to swallow because how can you kind of help or heal something that you don't want to even acknowledge it
Yeah.
exists. But I love that you also mentioned that you kind of, how do you say this, repurpose the anxiety energy, the anxious energy that you feel. You repurpose that and not just allow it to remain as anxious energy of overthinking and mapaparalyze ka na lang, but you actually drive that into more productive, or not really productive, but healthier things for you. Um, and I love that you mentioned that, and I think I relate to both of those as well when it comes to balancing. I think it's really, this is so cliche, but it's really taking it one step at a time. Because,
Mm.
when I get anxious, I'm thinking about everything and every single person in the world. Like every single minority is on my mind when I get so anxious about the world. But then, I kind of try to kind of make my mind a little bit more narrow in a sense for a bit, where I focus on what I can focus on right now, which okay, school muna, I'll focus on this paper first, and then mamaya na yung ibang mga assignments ko. Or content creation, I'll focus on this post first, tapos mamaya na yung iba. um, and so part of balancing is rest. And even if you're just like on your phone and you're lying down, like I hope that you don't feel bad for resting, because now
Mhm.
it feels like a sin, diba? Parang resting feels like a sin, but then that's the best way that you can find balance in everything, because as you are balancing all of your activities, you're also balancing yourself. You're also balancing your own emotions and your own energy. Okay, so how the next question is, how do you deal with the pressure to always be on your devices on social media, since they're 24/7 there? So how do you deal with that pressure? How do you detach also from technology, Coach Laika?
I think we had this conversation then before, Janina, na for
Mm-hmm.
someone who's a content creator 100% of the time, medyo yung screen time ko medyo mababa, and I take pride dun sa bagay na yon. Usually, yung average ko is 4 to 5 hours. Medyo ridiculous if you think na I'm always online. But the
Mm-hmm.
way that I do it, the first step is this. You have to be purposeful when you touch your device.
Yeah.
Ibig sabihin, we have to decide, am I going to be using my phone to create content or to consume content? Kasi I think one of the reasons why you spend too much time sa device natin is kasi yun nga, doom scrolling, right? We
Mm-hmm.
do all these things kasi just to pass time, wala lang, feeling natin wala effect sa atin yun, pero actually meron. So when you grab your device, think agad, okay, am I going to use this to post something as a content creator, or am I going to use this as a content consumer? Now, if I'm going to consume content, lalagyan ko ng cap. Ito lang yung number of minutes na pwede ko yung gawin. I think Doc Ronald pointed out yung pag-turn off ng notifications, which I
Mm-hmm.
do. Totoo yun.
Yeah.
I dedicate time for distraction. So kapag sinabi ko na, okay, pag gabi lang ako mag-check ng comments, and I'm sorry dun sa lahat ng mga followers ko na hindi ko nare-replyan in real time. Pero guys, that's what I need to do, and they know that. I communicate that. This is what I need to do to be in tip-top shape so I can keep
Mm-hmm.
making educational content for you. And they understand that. I don't need to be this parang call center na 24/7 nagre-respond every time people ask me questions. So again, think about that whenever you grab your phone. Ano ba yung dahilan? And then if you think na parang, okay, I have better things to do, or do I really need to scroll through social media right now? Medyo hindi. Okay, sige, I'll put my phone down and do something else offline.
Mm, wow. Thank you so much for those for that advice, Coach. But I was informed that we will have to let you go. Balance, guys.
Yes, I
This is
have a
her
talk pa
balancing.
eh.
Okay, she has another talk in a while. Thank you so much for joining us, even for a little bit, Coach. Stay safe.
You
Stay
too.
safe,
Bye.
coach.
Bye, madam.
Okay.
So it's just us, I guess,
Yeah,
Janina.
so it will be us. No problem with that. Okay. Well, I want to extend the same question to you, no, Madam. How do you deal with that pressure to always be on? Or how do you detach if you can?
I think I don't feel any pressure right now.
Right
I'm not
now?
sure if you know that
Yes,
reference.
of course,
It's
I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Pareho pa kaming pangalan.
Diba? But it's more of, I've always been someone who's not really into, it's weird to say this, but I'm on social media. I do a lot of things, but I'm not always on Facebook scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and checking everything. It's actually my partner who does that, and I just ask him, ano ng balita, what's new, what's trending. But for me, because I'm doing a lot of things, as I mentioned earlier, so I think I also put time, maybe 30 minutes the most at a time, to just scroll and check. Because there was a time also, just to share with you, when we encountered the second wave of 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 COVID, and
Mhm.
I saw a lot of posts. I don't know what's wrong with the algorithm. It just shows posts of people saying RIP. And it was just so sad. It was so devastating. I got so tired of seeing sad posts offering their condolences, and also um, saying RIP to people who passed. So I just got tired of that. And I guess that was the time that I told myself to stop doing, like, for a while, to stop scrolling on different social media sites for a
Mhm.
while, and just focus on the things that I engaged myself in, like this learning program, the language learning program that I enrolled in. So I
Mhm.
think that's the most important thing also for everyone. You have to know when to stop, when to limit yourself, when to take a break,
Yeah.
because it's addicting. You know, when you're on
Mm.
social media, you just want to be there the entire day and do nothing, and
Yeah.
you never realize how fast time flies.
Yeah, it is addicting, and I think connected to what Doc Ronald was talking about a while ago, we have to remind ourselves that we control social media. Social media doesn't control us,
Yeah.
and that's a hard thing to kind of rewire our brains to believe, because there is like, di ba parang I think there is some parang we get dopamine ba when we use our phones, when there's that kind of gratification. And so for a while we feel physically satisfied, but that wears out so quickly. And so remind yourself that you can turn off your phone, that you can close it, you can turn off your notifications. No, um, but the next question is, what do you think is the role? As you mentioned a while ago, is the that you are a content creator and you have so much work. What's the role as a content creator or as a YouTube creator during this pandemic?
Napaka, napaka-Miss Universe na nitong
Diba?
mga
What
questions.
can you do to kaya yun.
Kaya nga, but yeah, it's a response. Okay, I'll start with the word responsibility, because
Mm.
when I decided to be here on YouTube as a content creator, I know that I have a responsibility towards my viewers and supporters. Siyempre, when the pandemic hit, it was also there was also something that kicked in inside of me, na parang, ay nako, because of the lockdowns and all, I guess I have the responsibility now to my viewers, to keep them entertained or to be with them, or kumbaga samahan sila. We
Mm.
continue creating content, sasamahan nga natin ang ating mga viewers and subscribers, even if mahirap gumawa ng content, but we still continue the fight. We
Mm.
still continue creating meaningful and entertaining content for them, because we know in ourselves that we are also one of the sources of their happiness, diba? Of their inspiration. In this most difficult time, I guess it's most important for us creators to take this responsibility, and just give it all in a
Mm.
safe way to our
Yes.
viewers.
Yeah. In a safe way
No
for
excuses.
thank you, thank you. I believe that. No, I'm just kidding. We have to understand that responsibility. I love that, in a safe way. Physically distanced, but also in a safe way for you. Mentally, quote unquote, distanced if you have to. Taking the right boundaries to protect your mental health, so that you can be whole and you can do your job and be whole doing your job while doing that. But I think besides it, I think if I wanted to add on to that, it's not. It is a responsibility, but I also like to look at it as a privilege. No, Madam Ellie, parang it's such a privilege to, yun nga, it's a scary a truth, but to be looked at as points of inspiration and empowerment and happiness. It's such a privilege to have this platform, and the kind of relationship that we have with our subscribers is so special because it's so intimate. It's like, they're probably yung mga nanonood ngayon parang nasa kama lang sila, you're watching your or you're in your room or kumakain ka, and it's this friendship that I feel like is cultivated and is turned into a kind of trust, a trust that
Yeah.
we have to say, parang give the right advice. We have to encourage them to fight for what they deserve, to fight to have a better life, and to fight to smile even. And it's such a privilege to do that. Going to the last question. Okay, number 22, Madam Ellie. What is your advice to content creators watching us right now who feel the pressure of always needing to post content?
Just to again emphasize what I said kanina na in a safe way, I think we all have to stay safe. Don't risk safety just to create content. I
Mm.
know all of us are used to collaborating with other content creators, to shooting outdoors, to doing a lot of our stuff actually with other people because that's where the fun is. We
Yeah.
have to admit it's so boring when you're just sitting at home and doing content and you're just
Yeah.
talking and talking, or you're just with someone else who's also stuck at home with you. So it's very difficult. It's extra difficult for us to make content, but I guess we're all on the same boat. Creator or
Yeah.
not, lahat tayo, we're all humans, we're all undergoing the same problem, we're all facing the same problem, and we're definitely all going through a lot of anxious moments, 'di ba?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things we can do. Maybe it's about time we explore other content that we can create, non-risky ways, and
Mm.
but still be in touch with our viewers and supporters. Kasi we always say stay safe, stay home. If it's not important, don't go out.
Yeah.
We have to follow it. Kung ano yung
Yes.
lagi natin nire-remind, kung ano na lagi nating sinasabi. And our viewers must also see it in us.
Yeah.
Kasi if tayo mismo, we keep on saying this and then they see us here, there, you guesting on another channel, in 1 week nakapitong YouTube channels ka na nag-guest. So that's kind of scary. It's
Yeah.
just like you're, spreading the fear and the virus, 'di ba?
Mhm.
So stay safe. Don't risk it.
Yeah. It's syempre parang pareho naman yung intention natin, 'di ba, with them. They want to make their viewers happy. They want to spread some empowerment, encouragement, but we also can't be hypocrites, and kind of preach. We have to walk the talk, I guess, also, no, is what Madame Ellie was saying. But I connecting also to what we talked about a while ago. Just remind yourself that it is a responsibility. That it's not just it's not just a fun thing to do, but these people are actually looking to you, looking at you, and that's such a, again, a privilege to hold that platform. And I hope that we use it wisely, especially in this time where you know we all need to be safe. And if you can't stay home, right, then we all have the same body making, so we can all be affected by the virus. And so keep
And
doing what you're doing, and as every part in the world is innovating right now, we should do, right, we should find,
yes.
we should transform our content, we should change, because we're all creatives, and I believe in the content creators now we can find new ways while staying safe and staying true to what we say.
If I
Thank you
may add
so much. Oh yeah,
something,
go ahead.
okay, I'll just add something very important to all the
Mhm.
creators who's eligible already to get their vaccines.
Oh
I hope
yes,
that you can
wonderful.
also share your vaccine journey with your
Mm,
viewers and supporters without scaring them. Please don't scare them, but encourage them to get
yes.
vaccinated. If they're already eligible, or if there's someone senior in their house or someone
Mhm.
eligible in their house, like their parents, please register to get your vaccines now and encourage your followers and subscribers as well to do so.
Yes, I love that. Get vaccinated if you can, and don't scare your followers. Um, Thank you so much, Madam Ellie, for your time. Thank you for your sharings and your vulnerability. I am so excited to see your innovations on the YouTube space and on social media, and I hope that you stay safe emotionally, mentally and
You too,
physically.
Janina. Stay
Thank you so much,
safe.
Madam. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Okay. That was great. I hope you guys are still with me as we do have one last speaker for today. Okay. So, salamat ulit sa aking mga fellow YouTube creators for participating in this wonderful conversation. Okay, because of this ongoing pandemic, we are now spending a lot more time online using our devices, and which obviously may affect our well-being. Diba kanina tinanong ko kayo kung i-check mo ngayon yung screen time mo. If you're brave enough, can you comment down below kung ano yung screen time mo? And we can see. But if you're not, it's fine. No judgment here, but to talk about how we can practice digital well-being, please welcome the Google Industry Analytical Head and Well-being Champion, Miss Jaya Lopez.
Thank you so much, Janina. Hello, everyone. My name is Jaya Lopez, and I'm the Industry Analytical Head for Google, covering consumer packaged goods and retail. Aside from my core role, I champion well-being, and I'm deeply passionate about this. This afternoon, I will share with you Google's commitment to digital well-being, how we help people have a healthy relationship with technology, and how we surface relevant information. We've been coping with the pandemic for more than a year now, and this continues to take a toll on people's mental health. The prolonged isolation and longer hours of using our devices and being online can affect our mental well-being. We need to watch out for this. At Google, we believe that technology should help improve lives and not the other way around. This is why we are committed to helping people form healthy tech habits and better manage their digital lives through various initiatives, including the wellbeing.google site. This is a one-stop website where you can find helpful information and tools on how Google can help you strike a balance with your use of technology. Let me share more details about this. First, we have the digital well-being feature. It can be found on the Android settings menu of your device. It provides a set of tools that can help you protect your digital well-being. One of its tools is called Dashboard, which provides a daily view of your apps and phone usage. This can help us generate greater awareness of our daily tech usage and make informed decisions about it. It could also help us limit distractions to enable us to focus on what matters most. It also makes it easy for us to switch off when we want to. And lastly, it helps us find out how to have our own balance with tech. As they say, well-being is really personal, which is why this dashboard helps you set that right balance, whatever that means for you, in this tool. So with that dashboard tool, you can see more details about your app usage, what time and day of the week you use it the most, so you can take the necessary actions. For instance, you can set limits with a daily app timer. When the timer runs out, the app you chose is paused for the rest of the day. This is especially helpful when you want to focus on what matters most, or when you simply want to take a break. So uninterrupted breaks are a very good way to really reset your mind as you go into another task. I know for a fact that it's hard for you to put your phone down once you're already holding it. I myself sometimes get easily trapped once I check one notification. So before I know it, you've been on your phone far than you intended. But it's also hard to completely stay away from it because there are times when you actually need your phone, right? To minimize getting distracted, you can activate your Google Assistant so you don't have to actually pick up your phone to complete a simple task. All you have to do is just use your voice. For instance, you only need to check the time of day. You can simply say, "Hey Google, what time is it?" Pwede rin kausapin si Google sa Filipino at itanong, "Hey Google, ano oras na?" Google Assistant is built into some Android devices. As a standalone app, it can be downloaded on the Play Store and on the App Store. Like most of you here, scrolling through my phone is one of my favorite pastimes before sleeping, which I just recently learned is not the best habit to have. However, this is not recommended. As I just said, that bright light that our phones emit can actually affect our melatonin levels, which we need for good quality of sleep. Android's digital well-being can help us address this. So with bedtime mode, your phone screen will fade to grayscale at your chosen time, so it will be easier to detach from your device and condition yourself that it's now time for bed. It will automatically turn on the Do Not Disturb feature, so you also won't be unnecessarily alerted by notifications. I also learned from one of the workshops that I've attended in the past few weeks that we are weakest in our first 30 minutes and last 30 minutes in the day, which is why we really need to limit our exposure to different notifications or news during this time, really taking it slow so that our body either finds the right stimulus to wake up, to set us in the right place, but also at the end of the day, really help us feel that it's time to rest and relax. Also, if you're someone who instead scrolls through laptops or computers at night, you can quickly switch your Google search page to dark mode to keep you from further scrolling and straining your eyes. Research suggests that our brain is drawn towards colors, so using grayscale screens or backgrounds can help us easily detach from technology as needed. So I have these settings on my laptop as well as my mobile device. Okay, admit it, on busy days, we have to focus so we can get things done. But if our phone is just within reach, it's hard to stay away from distractions like our favorite games or your favorite content online. Yes, we can hide our phone away in the meantime, but this can also lead to missing a lot of important phone calls. Good thing, Android's digital well-being also includes focus mode. Focus mode actually allows you to show which apps distract you the most and lets you choose which ones you want to pause or take a break from for a while. Once activated, it turns your selected apps into grayscale, so it won't be accessible to you until the timer goes off. So great sense of discipline here. Super helpful for those who can't resist checking their favorite apps. I've also got something for the parents. I'm a parent as well, or guardians that are tuned in right now. I'm sure by now you've already heard so many times how important it is to monitor your kids' online activities in daily screen time, as well as how important it is to find kid-friendly content when you use to plan out their activities for listening, watching, and playing on their devices, especially now that it's summer season for the kids and it's their school break, right? So on the wellbeing.google site, you can find a family guide to help you in initiating conversations with your children and find out about the content they like, talk about smart online habits, and other digital topics. Right now, my son is really into dinosaurs, hunting, like all of those types of like games and content, and even ninjas. So that's the kind of content that he spends time on now during the summer. Each topic will give you key things to keep in mind in helping children understand the importance of having healthy digital habits. I almost reached the end of sharing, but before I conclude, I'd like to talk about a recent update on search in surfacing relevant information. To help the National Center for Mental Health in its service to provide free, reliable, and confidential psychological support, Google now instantly shows their crisis hotline on search when a person types in related keywords. This is also to remind and prompt people to seek professional help during their vulnerable state. If at this moment you feel like you're not doing well, this is me reminding you to reach out. Help is always available. Let's always check in on ourselves and our loved ones. I'm also proud to share here in Search APAC, one of the things that we've highlighted for the Philippines was one of the top searches that we discovered on Google Trends, which is how to help someone who is depressed. So Filipinos are really leaning into their loved ones who may have been struggling, and really trying to be there for them, and even to the point of educating themselves to find out how to better support their loved ones. So let's always check in on ourselves and our loved ones and know that the right resources are also made available if you end up searching for this on Google search. To wrap it up, I'd like to leave you with 3 key takeaways. Our digital lifestyle can also affect our mental well-being. Always keep in mind that technology should help us improve our lives and not the other way around. Always check if your digital consumption is still healthy, just as how you watch your diets. Summer right now, so when we think about diets, let's also think about our digital diet. Also, our relationship with technology is as unique as our personality and lives. I said this a while ago, well-being is a personal journey. What works for one may not work for others. We have to keep trying until we find the right approach and balance for our own digital well-being. Second, communication is always key. Before things get out of hand, or if you know that a family member, especially your kids, already have unhealthy digital habits, take time to sit down and talk about it as a family. And lastly, remember to celebrate your little wins, like when you actually manage to say no to distractions and unhealthy habits. Like one of the most original pieces of advice on dieting, the key is having small portions. You don't have to go big in one go. Make small commitments like using 30 minutes of your time away from social media or your favorite content to read 10 pages of a book each day, right? Or doing some exercise or spending time with your family and having conversations. You will be surprised by how many books or conversations or happy moments you can have in a year. So lastly, this is me saying thank you. Google is committed to helping you protect your digital well-being. Please check out wellbeing.google for more information and helpful resources. Once again, this is Jaya. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe and well, and always find reasons to be grateful every day. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Jay, for introducing Google's digital well-being to us. I am definitely looking forward to maximizing these tools so I can be more mindful of my digital well-being, especially because when we decide to take care of our mental well-being, this isn't just an inward decision that we have to make, but we have to allow it to affect our world around us. We have to allow it to affect our environment so that it can be conducive to the goal that we are setting to take care of our mental well-being. So I hope everybody has learned a lot from our speakers today. I hope you are feeling excited for this little tiny little reset in the middle of the year to say, hey, Janina, it's time to get it together, take care of your mental well-being, and I hope that I hope this talk helped with all of the insightful takeaways on managing our mental and digital well-being today. Sana magamit natin lahat ang mga natutunan natin today. This will help us deal with stress and also our response to it and live a more healthy life. So again, I would like to thank our speakers for today, Doc Ronald Del Castillo, Miss Jaya Lopez, and of course, my fellow YouTube creators, Coach Laika and Madame Ellie. So don't forget to check out wellbeing.google for more information so you can closely monitor and manage your own digital habits. So if you are sharing your thoughts on today's event or pictures or screenshots, please use the hashtag Let's Talk About Wellbeing so we can continue the conversation and raise awareness on the importance of well-being even after Mental Health Awareness Month. So this has been Janina Vela for Google's Well-Being Day. This is also me reminding you to always check in on yourself, on your friends, and on your loved ones. So text or call them today if you can. So please continue to stay safe, healthy, and practice health protocols. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's all be a little kinder. Bye.